In less than a year, the world will come together at the Expo 2020 Dubai on 1st of October 2021. The global event was postponed earlier this year in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome to the latest episode of Construction Week's Expo Reaction Series, where we speak to the people spearheading the participation of various countries at Expo 2020 Dubai. Joining us today on the show is Clayton Kimpton, Commissioner General of New Zealand at Expo 2020 Dubai. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Clayton.
It's a pleasure, Ranju. Thank you. It's good to be here.
What is the idea behind the New Zealand Pavilion, and what does the country aim to showcase through its participation in the World Expo?
Well, our pavilion, which was designed by Jazzmax architects, was inspired by waka, taonga. And these are receptacles made by Māori, the indigenous people of New Zealand, that would safeguard items of special or intrinsic value. And they were beautifully carved containers, often called wakahuia or papahau. And they were important cultural symbols for protection and the maintenance of values and practices and given to special guests. And so they were gifted to strengthen relationships or create new partnerships, and also to pass stories from one generation to the next. And so the architectural concept uses that waka taonga as a way of bringing people together. We think it reflects the connecting minds, creating the future theme. And New Zealand will present our pavilion as our waka taonga to the world, a receptacle for essential aspects of New Zealand's identity and values. Because our gift will be what is called in Māori kaitiakitanga, or care for people in place. And so we aim to showcase that theme of care for people in place and how it reflects who New Zealanders are, and how we behave, how we take a long-term view of how we approach business and society to ensure decisions are good for the world. Decisions that have a lasting effect, not just for New Zealanders, but for all people now and in future generations. So that was the concept behind the pavilion design.
So you mentioned that the theme of the pavilion is care for the people, which fits really well with the theme of the World Expo as well. So just wanted to understand, how does this complement the design of the pavilion?
Well, I guess they're all going to be quite interconnected. So with our theme of care for people in place, it reflects reflects our role as guardians across all we do and create. And our pavilion experience inside the pavilion has been inspired by the Whanganui River, which is the first river in the world to receive the status of a person.
Okay.
And that's been recognized as a living and indivisible whole, the river itself. And visitors who come to the pavilion will get the idea that that we're all connected to the river and connected to nature as an extension of ourselves. And the story is quite a universal narrative that will resonate with all visitors. And so this will be carried through the design and architecture of the pavilion. And one of the things that you'll notice when you come to the pavilion is that the building will look like it is alive. It will have a pulse that extends from the facade of the building right through to the center of the building. So that's one of the ways that we will sort of demonstrate the theme through the architecture.
That's really interesting to know. What does the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, has to say about the country's participation in the World Expo? What are her thoughts?
Well, look, she has expressed her support of our participation in Expo on a number of occasions, and she recognises the importance of the event and strengthening international relationships across business, the arts and culture, as well as it being an opportunity for us to share our national identity and what makes New Zealand special. So she's very supportive.
And I know that, many of the countries' participation has been funded by the government. Wanted to know if New Zealand's participation and the construction of the pavilion is also a government-funded project. And, how did the budget change when COVID-19 struck the world? Were there any changes?
The New Zealand participation is funded by government. We do have the support of private sector sponsors, and that's enabled us to do more events during the 6 months of Expo. But this has been funded by government, and New Zealand doesn't participate in every Expo. So there was a very strong and compelling business case that went to Cabinet, which supported Cabinet's decision to fund participation. And we see that will bring the range of economic benefits and other benefits to New Zealand as a result of our participation. The postponement did increase our costs, and so we've had to work very, very hard to reduce costs and save money, and to reallocate people for temporary periods and negotiate and renegotiate with everyone. But there were some costs which government also picked up. So when we went back to government to say, look, this has happened, we support the postponement, and so government was able to extend us some of the extra money that we required to meet those costs.
And we spoke about the idea and theme of the pavilion, but just wanted to understand, when, starting from the tendering stage, when was the tender for the pavilion's construction issued, and when was the contract for the same awarded?
It's such a long time ago now. We issued the tender to shortlisted contractors on 10 October 2018, so more than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And Ramond Middle East General Contracting was identified as the preferred respondent back in December 2018. So we've had a clear contractual relationship since then, and it's worked well.
Ramond Middle East is the main contractor for the construction of the
That's
pavilion.
right.
How has the experience been working with them? Because I know they're also responsible for the construction of the Al Wasl Plaza.
That's right. Look, our experience has been superb. We have really enjoyed working with them. And when we choose all of our partners, whether it's construction or elsewhere, we look not only for their ability and for the cost, but also for their ability to work with us, and how good is that working relationship going to be. And that's proven to have been the right decision, because there are tough discussions that you have as you're trying to save money or when there's a pandemic, and it's been very, very good to deal with Ramond throughout.
I understand that the New Zealand Pavilion has been designed to increase efficiency through its construction methodology, with the use of sustainable materials. Could you talk to us a little more about what kind of materials are being used? How is it going to protect the environment and reduce the carbon footprint as well?
So where possible, we've included New Zealand sourced and manufactured materials, because that's what we want to be able to demonstrate. But where some items are heavy or substantial, that it isn't sustainable to bring from New Zealand, and so we source those locally, and locally sourced, and they'll be locally redeployed or recycled or returned. And the building is designed to increase efficiency through its construction methodology by using sustainable materials like Abodo New Zealand Eco Timber, and with the facade, which is made by a completely recyclable injection molded product. And those sorts of things will be both striking aspects of the pavilion and the restaurant and the facade, but they're also there as sustainable materials designed to increase the efficiency of the building. And the pavilion's facade is a particular highlight, made from cane mail, which is a lightweight New Zealand made composite material that is 100% recyclable. And this is the facade that will move with a pulse, as I mentioned before.
In terms of the construction activities, we know that most recently the pavilion has completed 95% of the construction activities. What are the next set of activities now planned for the pavilion?
Well, what we've done is we're mothballing the pavilion with 95% of the work done, and we have purposely saved things like the hanging of the facade, the final coats of paint, the timber paneling, things like that, and all of the digital equipment. We've saved that until next year, and work will start again in April, and we hope to have that completed by the end of June, so that we're then able to start test events and what have you. So we've really decided there's no point in putting our the best dress on and then leaving it just to stand there unappreciated. So we'll put all of that on in April to June next year.
Okay, brilliant.
But it's really just the finishing touches.
Okay, that's interesting to know. You mentioned about going back in April and then starting off with the remaining works. But during this period, starting from now until April, how are you planning to secure the freshness of the pavilion? Because the climatic conditions are going to change in the UAE.
Well, one of the interesting things about our pavilion is that it's completely contained. So there are no areas that are open to the elements. Mm-hmm. And that's been part of the design to protect it from the weather conditions until the middle of next year. And it was designed to be fully enclosed from the elements, to both preserve the condition of the spaces and the exhibition areas, but also to ensure the comfort of all the visitors. Because we know for 3 months of Expo, it's going to be hot. We know it's dusty, and we know it can rain and the wind. So that's why we've ensured that the entire pavilion, all the spaces are enclosed. And during the mothballing phase, the building will be air conditioned. It will be frequently cleaned inside and out, just to make sure it retains that it's kept well. And then from April to July, when the final features are being completed, of course, and after that, it'll be kept in the same manner as when we're operating it, with air conditioning and cleaning and all that sort of thing. So we are really we're very confident that even although a period of time is now extended, that the building will be fresh and feel new, will be both protecting what's inside it, but also be very, very comfortable for all the visitors.
And before I wrap the interview, I wanted to understand, after the Expo ends, in March 2022, what will happen to the New Zealand Pavilion? Because I understand it is going to be a temporary structure. So will it be, dismantled and the materials be used elsewhere? How are you planning to go by?
Well, it was designed to be dismantled. So, and 75% of the building components are easily able to be disassembled, relocated, repurposed, recycled, and some will be returned to the manufacturer. And so that's been the plan from the outset. The actual waka taonga, the box, if you like, of the pavilion has been designed with quite a simple, lightweight steel frame construction, and with this modular membrane facade. So that part of the pavilion has been designed to be relocated and repurposed, or it can be broken down into components and recycled. A lot will depend on what the needs are, and now at in the middle of 22, so it's a much further time frame we're working to. Yeah. But a large part of the pavilion, including the hosting venue, the restaurant, back of house, has been designed to be constructed using lightweight steel construction. And these parts can be easily dismantled, recycled, and used where applicable.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us, Clayton, today. It was wonderful having you on our show and understanding more about New Zealand's participation as well as the pavilion's construction.
Fantastic. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Ranju.
Thank you once again. To all our viewers who've been tuned in, don't forget to hit the like button and share this video with your friends and colleagues. We will come back soon with another interesting episode in one of our series on YouTube. Stay tuned. Until then, thank you very much for watching and goodbye.